Now, the Skull and Bones Society, as the narrator is talking about in the clip, is a prestigious society at Ivy Leagues like Harvard and Yale, which has included members like David Rockefeller, John Kerry, and both Bush Jr. and Sr. This is the kind of information video clips that my boyfriend sends me on almost a regular basis because it's something that he's very into, very interested in, and something that he thinks can be used to explain a lot of what's going on today. Now, conspiracy theorists believe that their theories can give explanation to every occurrence in human society, and that's through the secret information about secret societies, our government, planned conspiracies themselves, and our media. So what I decided to look at is, are our country's leaders really so secretive? As I talked about in relation to the video clip, the Skull and Bones Society is a secret and very exclusive society that is said to have had some relation to many prominent figures in our nation's history and even around the world, which includes our current president, Barack Obama. According to conspiracy theorists, he was a Mason, and Masons have this supposed reputation for being a fraternity within a fraternity, one that's visible to the public and one that's very secretive and internal and has some relations to the Skull and Bones Society. And both of them have been linked to rumors of practicing things like animal sacrifice and satanic worship, as described by Jay Tolson in his special report titled Inside the Masons. This also may be where the thought that the members of these clubs have been chosen by the superior or supernatural being to lead within the nation, and even that they are being chosen in some way to control the universe and carry out a universal plan, which is like an ultimate goal of these secret societies. And in the U.S., these positions of leadership are seen most commonly within our government. Now, theorists believe that all of our government's leaders are working together for a greater power, and one unnamed bonesman was interviewed for the Atlantic Monthly and said that the power of the Bones is incredible. They've got their hands on every lever of power in this country. And in that same article, it also talked about W. Averell Harriman, who was a Skull and Bones member in 1913, and actually ended up backing Hitler financially and helped him rise to power. And so it's the idea that not only the nations, but the world's leaders in power are being handpicked to serve different purposes throughout history. And so theorists believe that the way our government is able to accomplish this sort of handpicking in our nation is through brainwashing its citizens with the illusion of sovereignty and making them invested in the idea of choice, which is something that I think a lot of people in America, not just conspiracists, believe, that we don't really have a choice and our vote doesn't really count and it's all being decided or controlled by this elite few. And so that's somewhere where conspiracists can draw their theories from. Conspiracists believe that this is how the government is able to gain so much power, and that once they have control of the people through trust, they can make them believe whatever they want. And this is where it gets into the conspiracies themselves, that conspiracists will use an event or a disaster and its outcome to say that since the government or elite want to gain global control, they're presenting these events in such a way that by globalizing the world will come faster. And American Heritage published in 2005 that by attributing a disaster to sinister plotting, conspiracies tell us that it is not the result of mere accident. So the idea that all this is part of a bigger plot. And our generation is probably most familiar with the example of 9/11, that some people believe that it was planned by the government to give us an excuse to start war with the Middle East, and then someone who considers themselves a conspiracist may think that then this was a way to get involvement in overseas and bring us one step closer to that globalization. And then conspiracy also looks at how we get the information that we do in order to form our own opinions and perceptions of these things, and that's through our media. Especially more recently with the creation of this widespread media of news and being aware that we are getting one account of this event in most cases and how it could affect our perception, and that maybe these elite few want us to see or take it a certain way. And theorists will even take this to the extent of believing that our culture through TV, the music we listen to, and movies, and all of their content is used to instill new ideas of globalization in our minds. So that maybe if a movie is based or shot in India or China, that we then might subconsciously be more accepting of creating relations with these countries. And then we, of course, have the internet, where there's social networking and all these different ways that we can become connected maybe to individuals in different nations, and even eventually become a more globalized society. And this all relates to the conspiracist idea that once we all come together, we'll be easier to overcome, and then world domination can be achieved. So now you understand how the nation of conspiracy theories came to be through the emphasis on many undeveloped topics such as secret societies, the innermost workings of our government, worldwide events and tragedies, and the creation of a huge widespread media to carry these curiosities into the minds of conspiracy believers everywhere, including my boyfriend. And last, how these theories can be used to explain nearly every occurrence in our society today. Boom.